1914. Who are the men of this period? So carefree, yet so close to war. Many of them are peasants, attached to their land, their traditions, and their religions. They feel safe. It's been almost half a century since the last large European conflict. The well-to-do enjoy the fine summer of 1914. René Ferrari, 34, from a line of Italian immigrants who made their fortune in heating, is one of the first home movie enthusiasts. He believes that film will preserve the image of his happiness, not realizing how fragile it is. René is married to Jacqueline. They have 3 children, Pierre, Claude, and Alain, and a faithful maid, Alphonsine. They live a short distance from the railroad. Trains are so modern and practical. They go everywhere now. Soon they will transport armies. The train takes them to the French Alps, where they go ice climbing with only a cane and dress shoes. Innocence abounds. Vienna, 1914. The great writer Stefan Zweig recalls the capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. New theaters, libraries, and museums were springing up everywhere. There was progress everywhere. What could interrupt this rapid ascent, dampen the elan, which constantly drew new force from its own soaring? A wondrous, carefree spirit reigns the world over. Never has Europe been stronger, richer, more beautiful, or more confident of an even better future. It is still the Belle Époque of the early 1900s, but not for all. Workers put in twice the hours as those of today, yet earn half as much. Women earn a mere half of this slave wage. In theory, children under 12 do not work in mines. In France, Jean Jaurès is the great leader of the working class. He is worried. He knows that among Europe's elite, many captains of industry speak openly of a war to end the movement for workers' demands. Jaurès writes, "Your violent and chaotic society, even when it pretends to seek peace, carries within it war, just as rain clouds carry the storm." The arms race is very good for business. The great European powers prepare for war. Their endless military service trains men for war. War and death hover over the planet. For centuries, the rival empires have been divvying up the world with their swords. Britain's conquests reach as far as Australia and Canada. France's from Indochina to Africa. Germany also has colonies, but wants a larger slice of the pie. Prior to 1871, Prussia was a divided state. By crushing France and annexing the French provinces of Alsace and Lorraine, it has become the German Empire. The Emperor of Germany, Wilhelm II, 55, surrounds himself with his military leaders. He orders the building of a navy that will surpass England's fleet. He wants to give Germany its place in the sun. June 15th, 1914. Wilhelm II celebrates the 25th anniversary of his reign. He loves to parade, but can mount his horse only from a stool because of his handicap. An accident at birth left him with a withered left arm that he usually poses atop his sword. After years of failed treatments, he has developed an unstable character and is prone to violent outbursts of anger. He is married to his cousin, Augusta Victoria. They have the same grandmother, the British sovereign, Queen Victoria. She characterized Wilhelm as a hot-headed, conceited, and wrong-headed young man. Wilhelm has a conflicted relationship with his English royal family, so powerful and dominating. One day, while hunting, he hurts himself and screams revealingly, "This damned English blood." For Wilhelm II, the United Kingdom has been a threat ever since it formed the Triple Alliance with France and Russia. As a result, Germany feels surrounded and thus vulnerable. Its only true ally is the Austro-Hungarian Empire, an amalgam of smaller nations which has been reigned over for 60 years by Franz Joseph I, 84. His long life has been punctuated by tragedy, the suicide of his son and the assassination of his wife. Empress Elizabeth, Sisi, as she was known, was the sweetheart of his youth. He is now an old emperor, many of whose subjects demand independence. He rules a tinderbox, but Franz Joseph and his arrogant officers and politicians oppose reform of any kind. His empire is referred to as the Joyful Apocalypse. The waltzing and festivities continue unabated, as at the marriage of Zita, the lovely princess, to Karl, the emperor's grandnephew. But it is his nephew, Franz Ferdinand, who is the heir presumptive to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Franz Ferdinand is married to the Countess Sophie Chotek, an aristocrat, but not of royal blood. Franz Joseph does not approve, nor does he approve of the reformist ideas of his heir. The English monarch, George V, 49, is also the King of Ireland and the Emperor of India. His realm is huge, but his powers limited. His foremost preoccupation is Ireland's struggle for independence. George V has no sense of what is about to explode, any more than the President of France, who has come to London on an official visit to reaffirm the Entente Cordiale, the new friendship, which after centuries of deadly rivalry, now links Great Britain and France. Poincaré, 54, may be a moderate, but he comes from the Lorraine region that Germany annexed, and that all France now dreams of reconquering. St. Petersburg, the capital of the Russian Empire, is the seat of Tsar Nicholas II, 47, who has reigned over his 170 million subjects for 30 years. He celebrates the tricentennial of the Russian dynasty amid the pomp of the Orthodox Church. Parading alongside him, Tsarina Alexandra and their son, Tsarevich Alexei. And close behind, their 4 daughters, the Grand Duchesses, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia. In 1905, Russia lost a war against Japan and experienced its first revolution. Since then, the country's economy has improved, despite the burden of high military expenditures. In early July of 1914, amid Europe's looming misfortunes, the Tsar takes a cruise on the Baltic Sea aboard his yacht. Despite these images of carefree gaiety, the Tsar feels a deep sense of insecurity. Peace is under threat. And so is his dynasty. His heir, his sole son, the 10-year-old Tsarevich Alexei, is a hemophiliac. His blood does not clot. The slightest injury may be fatal. To ward off the ill fortune that has plunged her into depression, his mother, the Tsarina, seeks help from a faith-healing monk, Rasputin, whose influence is on the rise. Rasputin may help the Tsarevich, but he also meddles in the affairs of the Tsar. Tsarevich Alexei, on whom his parents dote, has convinced them by throwing another tantrum to allow him to go for a row, but he is not allowed to swim. The faithful seaman Derivenko, so strong and reassuring, has protected the Tsarevich since he took his first steps. He is constantly on guard, but like so many sick children, the Tsarevich is unruly. Will he ever be allowed to play? Will he even get the chance to grow up? His hereditary illness comes from his English maternal great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, who carried the fatal gene. At her death, Queen Victoria's descendants occupied many of Europe's thrones. The Europe of kings and emperors is one big family. The British sovereign, George V, and Tsar Nicholas II are cousins and could be taken for twins. The German Kaiser is also their cousin, and the Tsarevich's godfather. Peace should reign in the family. But in each country, strong nationalist factions see war as the opportunity to finish off a dangerous rival.